Stanley presents, oh, hey, that's me, The Further Adventures of Indiana Jones. Excelsior.
Welcome.
It's time for the further adventures of Indiana Jones.
The greatest adventures of all time.
I don't know. I'm making this up as I go.
Pack your bag, grab your passport, and prepare to go globetrotting with Marvel Comics' classic four-color adventures of Indiana Jones.
Jones? Jones!
Mr. Jones, I've heard a lot about you, sir. Your appearance is exactly the way I imagined.
Son of a...
I'm here now. What do you want to talk about?
Welcome, IndyCast listeners and Further fans, to the Further Adventures of Indiana Jones. I am Joe Stuber, joined, as always, by Further aficionado Keith Voss. Keith, the time has come for issue 19.
Oh, no.
Oh, come on!
Dragon by the tail.
Oh.
We finally get to it. But you know what? Before we recorded the show, I picked up the issue to reread it for the segment, and I tried to go in with an open mind again. And I said, you know what? I'm just going to forget about all the negativity surrounding this fill-in issue and just go in and see how
it'll be good.
Much fun I could have reading this issue. And you know what? I did have a little bit more fun reading this issue than previous times, but there are still moments that are very cringeworthy. But you know, we'll get to that later. But
yeah, you definitely have to go into it with the right frame of mind. If you go into it thinking it's going to be one of the most solid four-color adventures of Indiana Jones, just don't. I mean, it's cheesy.
Yeah,
so go into it and have fun with it.
Exactly. You just have to have fun with this one, and that's what we're going to do today. We're going to have some fun with it. But before we do that, I mean, hey, I gotta talk about the new Dan Reed cover.
If you're on our Facebook page, you already know about it. You've seen it. Amazing. If not, head over there. Head over to the Flickr page. We're going to have it on there as well. But yeah, remember back a little while ago, we interviewed Dan Reed, artist, and he did a full-blown new cover for issue number 9, which we posted on our Facebook page, which was incredible. You had Zomac and you had Ilsa Toad on there. Really cool. You had the Chachapoyan Idol. But he had mentioned at the time that he wanted to do the same for issue number 10.
Yes, that's right. And
it was the Howard Chaykin cover originally, right?
That's right. That's right. And when we met up in New York City, I made a mention again to him about, hey, well, you know, what about that second cover that you want to do? And he was like, you know, I'm kind of stuck on an idea for it. And to be honest,
for long.
I threw out an idea. I said, well, how about, you know, what would be a cool cover? I said, you know, I love the cover with Indian Zomek and Ilsa on the plane, and you know, I love that cover. I said, but you know what would have been a really cool alternate cover? Indy fighting one of those crocodiles.
Yeah, I mean, that was the big action set piece, or one of the big action set pieces.
Exactly.
I mean, you obviously had the plane thing, which is what the cover, for those of you who don't remember, the actual cover has Indy and Zomek kind of like, you know, wing walking, like fighting on the plane before it goes on. Great cover. Oh, yeah, it's not that that's a bad cover. It's a great cover. But Dan had mentioned in the interview, he said he would have loved to have done the covers for those issues. So, hey, he did them.
Yeah, he did them. And you know what? Like I said, I made that I made that recommendation. I said, how about this? And he loved it. He's like, that's it. You just inspired me. And I was like, whoa, cool, excellent. And he put that together so quick, sent it to us. And boy, Further fans, let me tell you, if you haven't seen it yet, and then he colored it, he added, you know, the Further Adventures
it's
title.
Complete. Yeah, it's a complete cover.
It's complete. He did a great job. Big thanks again to Dan Reed.
Is this like a retailer incentive cover now? 30 years later, we've got these alternate covers.
Cool. You know, we have this big, gigantic, you know, reptile. Indy is just, you know, wrestling with this thing. But, you know, this isn't the only time Indy has kind of, I guess, wrestled with a giant reptile on the cover. This is very similar to what we're dealing with for issue number 19.
Absolutely, yeah. I mean, we've talked about it, Dragon by the Tail. This was, if we talked to Elliot Brown, who was the editor of these issues, back in IndyCast 142, 141 and 142, Part 1 and Part 2. But he references this issue. We asked him about it in Part 2, which would be, go back in IndyCast 142, check it out. But this was that dreaded fill-in issue that Elliot had talked about. Because what had happened, he mentioned, just to catch you up to speed, issue 20 the Cuban Connection was going to be penciled by Luke McDonnell. And Luke couldn't finish the book for whatever reason. He just wasn't going to be able to finish the book. And when you're working weeks and months ahead of time, that's disaster. That's disaster in the world of comic books. And so this was one of those issues where he said Louise Jones, who was the editor before him, had it. This is one of those issues that's shoved into a drawer. He said it's to be left there forever. It's
Just
never
in
never
case
meant to
they
be
need
seen
it.
the light of day. Yeah.
Yeah.
And he also, which I thought was kind of interesting, was that they used it as a threat. They would use fill-in issues as a threat to the pencilers and to the writers that if they were not going to meet their deadline, because nobody wants the fill-in issues, because basically what it does is just stops your storylines dead. If you've got these plot threads hanging.
And that's what it does. I mean, think about the second issue of the search for Abner. And then all of a sudden the Arnhem Ring is a fake, and and Marcus is fired. None of that gets addressed at all in this issue.
No, all these things are brought up at the end of issue 18, as you mentioned, and we're like, whoa, okay, what's going to happen? And then, as Elliot refers to these fill-in issues as giant speed bumps, that's what we have. It's basically a giant speed bump for this issue.
That's right. I mean, this issue is a speed bump. I mean, like I said, I would try to go into it having a little bit of fun, but it just, I don't know. It's not the brightest moment in the first.
Great cover though.
It is a great cover, and
Let's talk
Bret
a little
Blevins
bit about that.
did the cover. We interviewed Bret Blevins. He talked about the cover, but
IndyCast 162. Go check it out. Bret talks about that cover.
How we didn't have even a reference for the dragon when he did the cover, but it works out even better.
Right. I don't know because if it was a fill-in issue, it might have already been done. But I don't know if that artwork made it to him, because it sounded like there was such a mad scramble to get this issue out. They may not have had a chance. I mean, this now you can scan things and send them out. Back in the day, you had to, send this stuff out. So for some reason, that artwork didn't get to Bret, and he didn't know what the dragon was supposed to look like. So
and you know what? A huge difference from what he did earlier, his earlier cover.
Yeah.
But look at Harrison Ford's face. I mean, look at Indy's face. That's Harrison Ford right there.
Yep.
That is a great likeness of Harrison Ford. I mean, you have him holding on to the whip. You see the dragon shadow. You see his shadow. And you know what? It works. It's very simple, but it works.
Yep. The hat looks great. Everything looks great on there. It's the best part of this book. So we're peaking early for the fans. It's all downhill from here. Sorry to say. But, speaking of that, we've got a great cover, so we've got that. But let's talk about the people that put this together. Well, Keith, go ahead and give us the creator rundown. A very interesting individual behind this issue.
That is true. We have Further Adventures of Indiana Jones, number 19, Dragon by the Tail. Cover date July 1984, cover by our buddy Bret Blevins, script and pencils Larry Lieber, who is the younger brother of none other than Stan Lee himself.
Stan Lee presents.
And Stan Lee presents, yes.
He presented it, but his brother Larry was the one that put it all together.
That's right. The inks by Vince Colletta with Jack Abel, colors by Robbie Carosella, letters by Rick Parker.
There we go. Well, we've put it off long enough. Let's go ahead and talk about Dragon by the Tail. Oh, I couldn't agree more, Wilhelmina. I'd scream too.
That is an alarm of how bad this issue is.
That's a panic alarm. Yeah, that's not a spoiler alert. That's a warning. Stay away. Stay away.
If you haven't read this, we're really not going to be spoiling much for you. I mean, look, Indiana Jones has come across some crazy stuff. Zombies, the wrath of God, okay? He's seen hearts ripped out. He has seen, miracles. He has seen aliens. He has seen all kinds of things. And somehow seeing a dragon still just doesn't sit quite well with me. And he has encountered dragons before. There was a Young Indiana Jones book, Young Indiana Jones in the Face of a Dragon. Now, granted, that was a statue, but fine. But the video game, Indiana Jones and the Emperor's Tomb, there was a dragon in that. So not the first time Indiana Jones has encountered a dragon.
No, and I think it's really in the storytelling. And look, I mean, Stan Lee wrote a lot of Marvel stories. Larry Lieber. And as Elliot mentioned, a great guy, a great storyteller. Just in this particular one, it doesn't really fit in. The storytelling, as we'll go through, you'll see, it just doesn't really fit in with the world of Indiana Jones. This particular page 1 was penciled by Elliot Brown. He was the one that put this in here because he said he had to tie it in to the issue before. As you mentioned, Indy at the end of issue 18 was back at Marshall College. The Arnhem Ring that we've been talking about has been considered a fake by the experts. Because of this, Marcus has been fired. So we've got all these plot threads dangling, and then all of a sudden, Indy is in an airplane over the Himalayas. It says near Mount.
Again, he was just there though.
Well, and I think it says over Nepal near Mount Manaslu. And so I think that was just sort of a tie-in where Elliot Brown had realized, okay, we sort of had this last adventure coming out of the Himalayas. Yeah, Indy might be back, but maybe let's throw this in. Maybe this was something that happened on the way. I don't know. None of it's really explained, but there's sort of a Himalayas tie-in. Anyway, Indy's in this plane. He's jumping out. I don't know who this guy is. Tommy,
yeah.
He's going to see him in Shanghai. It's another character that's thrown in. We're just there to get to the fill-in issue that Larry Lieber put together.
Yeah, and this guy Tommy mentions, okay, the Colonel says jump in the next 5 seconds, and we never really get to know who the Colonel is. If it's just if it's somebody that is well known to Indy, or if somebody that has hired Indy in the past, we kind of don't know. That's pretty much all the information that we get.
This page is just a throwaway. This is just to get us to that fill-in issue.
That's right. And like you said, Elliot Brown did this, and Jack Abel just did the first page of this first page.
Yep, and he said Jack Abel made it sing. Because Elliot, even by his own admission, he's not a penciler.
His art is not good.
He said it's not. Yeah. So he said Jack Abel made it work. And I think he does. I mean, I think that's a pretty cool shot of Indy parachuting down in the Himalayas. That's kind of neat. I like the credits box there. I like the fonts that are used for Dragon Ball Z. A lot of people trying their hardest to bring this one to life.
Yeah, in my opinion, they really didn't try hard enough because
they were under deadline.
Yeah, they were under a deadline. I totally understand about that, but what we have then is Indy lands, after parachuting out of the plane, and now he ducks into this cave. He builds a fire, and this is where we start getting what's going on in the story. Indy reads a letter from an old Japanese colleague. Where
Professor Kobayashi.
That's right, Kobayashi. Indy apparently saved his life a few years ago.
Yeah, another lost Indiana Jones adventure.
That's right, another lost Indiana Jones adventure. But it seems that this Professor Kobayashi was on an expedition searching for a lost primitive tribe that was rumored to be in the Himalayas, and they actually were successful. They say in the northwest sector of Mount Dubri, where we located descendants of the prehistoric cave dwellers. Now, these prehistoric cave dwellers, they see that these people are coming in, and they don't know who they are, so they kind of attack them. Professor Kobayashi's group shoots their guns in the air, and they scare them off. They discovered the reason for their hostility. They had a secret, these cave dwellers. There was these stone carvings that were forming a crude temple, which the group believed was for worshiping a pagan god. Now, that wasn't quite what they were worshiping. It wasn't exactly a pagan god. It's very much out of like John Carpenter's The Thing. There's like this
thing
this
buried
creature,
in the ice.
Yes, there's a creature buried in the ice, and there's a ring of people around it. So I was very much reminded of that when I was reading
Fin Fang
this issue
Foom
again.
Fin Fang Foom.
It is Fin Fang Foom. I mean, not actually, but it's pretty much modeled after him.
It is.
I mean, let's be honest.
Yeah, and Elliot Brown talked about that in his interview. He'd mentioned, about just how popular Fin Fang Foom was back in the day. A character that was created in 1961. It was a dragon. It was so popular they even were selling cutout masks.
Yep.
These
appeared in a lot of Iron Man
Marvel
comics.
Yeah, and even a couple of was it animated?
Yeah,
episodes too. So, hugely popular. Obviously, Larry Lieber being in that generation of Marvel artists and writers, thought that, hey, Dragon, Indiana Jones, that might work. So good thought, good idea. I just don't know the execution is there. But yeah, this expedition comes along. They see Fin Fang. The Dragon by the tail.
I think we're going to be doing that a lot for this segment, Joe.
As it goes through, and they're like. I guess we must not defile it, but they're archaeologists, so let's do. I don't know what they just leave.
Well, at first they don't even believe that it really is a dragon. They're like, no, it's just like a malformation within the ice. It just looks like a dragon. They're like, no, that's a dragon.
I guess, but there's no real reaction to this. It's like, what is this? And they just kind of like leave.
Yeah, they don't want to defile the. They don't want to defile this like I don't know, this ground, this, like, I guess they realize, look, if this is a real dragon, we should just kind of let it be.
Right, but aren't they there to find out about this prehistoric clan or these descendants of this supposed prehistoric clan? You know, these cavemen.
Well, they know they exist now, and
well, yeah, but then they leave. So
yeah,
weren't they there to study them?
Wouldn't you leave?
But they're there to study them, and what they did was they shot their guns off and scared them away. Well, why? I don't know. It just doesn't make any sense.
It's true.
But it's
like one of the members of Kobayashi's group is like, look, we're archaeologists. We're seeking relics of the past, and they say that the dragon is of the present. It's an ageless, slumbering thing of evil, just waiting to be awakened. And they should tamper with forces beyond the understanding. We got to get out of here.
Yeah, let's go back to Japan. So they do. And then we have the two generals in the story here, General Makimura and General Shimada. They find out about this expedition. They get wind of this. I don't know how they do it. It's another throwaway line. We're moving through the plot pretty quickly. One of the generals believes in it.
Yeah, someone in this group leaked some information.
I guess. Who are these random people in these expeditions, whatever. General Makimura believes in the dragon. General Shimada doesn't believe in it. They try to get Professor Kobayashi to help him out, and he says, "Nope, I'm not going to help you with this because it's we shouldn't be tampering with this." But they said they're going to get his colleagues to help him out on this.
Right, but this is also where the Japanese reveal their plan.
You know what? I do like this aspect of the story.
Yeah.
I do like the fact that it's not just Nazis. They're not just relying on the Nazis, because that's kind of a fallback on Indiana Jones tales.
Sure. I mean, this is one of the few times that the Japanese are being used in an Indiana Jones story, and this is a kind of a perfect setting, to be honest. They find a dragon, boom, perfect. So, again, this is a part of the story where the exposition is pretty interesting. They figure they could use that dragon as a weapon against their enemies. Of course, the enemies being the United States. A few years, they say that they'll be ready to fulfill the destiny as a great imperial power, drive the foreigners from the Pacific. Again, they're talking about the United States. If they have a flying, fire-breathing monster to unleash, they could attack them sooner. So they start talking about how we would unleash the monster off the coast of California.
Right.
It's very Godzilla here.
They're going to unleash Godzilla. I mean, the Dragon Ball. I mean, It's...
Run! It's Godzilla! It looks like Godzilla, but due to international copyright laws, it's not. Still, we should run like it is Godzilla! Though it isn't.
It's
not the most
across
original
America,
story.
ravaging, creating chaos, just burning everything, and then, since there's all this chaos going on, it'd be so much easier for the Imperial Japanese forces to invade and conquer the United States.
Even that artwork they've got there from Larry.
It's a great plan, isn't it?
It just looks like this. It looks like something right out of a Godzilla movie. You got these people fleeing in panic, and Godzilla, or the dragon, Fing Fang Foom.
Or Fing Fang Foom.
Yeah.
Or, no, the dragon.
He's breathing fire. He's destroying the city. Yeah, anyway. So, but that's not going to happen.
Did you ever play Dungeons and Dragons when you were younger, Joe?
No, I had a life, actually, Keith.
Okay. Ooh, ouch. I apologize to all other Dungeons and Dragons players out there. I, for one, did play Dungeons and Dragons when I was
I'm kidding. I had the TSR Indiana Jones game.
Yeah. But, Green Dragon...
I'm doing a comic book podcast. I'm a nerd. I'm a card-carrying member of the Nerd Society.
Ready for this? I'm going to play my nerd card right now. Green dragons don't actually shoot fire. Red dragons shoot fire. Green dragons shoot acidic mist. Man. But anyway...
How did you find a woman to love you, Keith?
Or chlorine gas, is it? I don't know. I think it's chlorine gas, but at least that's the Dungeons and Dragons. Hey,
nerd!
I am a closet nerd, but I guess that just... the closet door just opened up. Boom.
Oh.
Sorry. Anyway.
Yeah, that's way too... That's more thought than what was put into this actual story. No, that's more thought than what was actually put into the story.
I can't help it.
All right, Kobayashi's not going to help them. They're moving on. They're going to get the colleagues to help them. We're back to Indiana Jones. He said, "Yep." And the reason why, because Indy saved his life 2 years ago. He wants to tip off Indiana Jones. Somehow he got this letter to him, and that's why Indy is in the Himalayas to thwart this plan of the Japanese. And Indy's like, yeah, if it's true, that's great, and hope it is, and it's not so much sukiyaki, which is a Japanese stew or soup, which I don't get that line, but anyway.
Let's go down to Fu Young's and get some sukiyaki.
Sukiyaki.
Yeah, they're just trying to be funny.
I don't know. It's another strange thing.
There's several, really trying to be funny references, and it just comes across as like they're trying to make Indiana Jones be kind of like a Spider-Man-ish type of character. Spider-Man from like the 60s and 70s, I would say. Where we'll get to some of the other sillier lines later, but
it's just it's sort of that 60s. And again, Larry was from that generation, so as we're going through, but. Moving on, Indy finds the camp. He finds that the dragon was in the ice. The Japanese have sort of cut this dragon out. It's almost like a Captain America kind of thing now, too.
Well, also, like again, like the Thing. They cut it out of the ice. They bring it back, So, But, I mean, how would Indy... what's Indy supposed to do here? He finds the dragon. Okay, now what? And it is explained. It says if he does find the dragon, he would radio one of the bases in Burma.
Why'd you say Burma? I'm panicked.
And then the Fly Boys would come and grab the serpent before the Japanese
But they totally nullify that by saying that his radio wouldn't have the reach anyway. So this plan really wasn't thought out. So
it wasn't thought out.
Yeah, it's
no.
not, yeah. The issue, unfortunately, is not going to end in a page or two.
The whole plot wasn't thought out, it seems, apparently.
Right.
But,
Indy tries to take the guard out. He calls him Smiley. I don't know. It's not very Indy-like. What's going on? Your Emperor run out of ice. It's a very comedic take.
Yeah, they're trying to be Spider-Man. It's Spider-Man.
Here's a knuckle sandwich. Yeah, it's
bon appetit.
It's more 60s than 80s. Yeah.
Right. Exactly.
Indy takes the guard out. He starts to climb over. There's a marksman who's not that great a marksman. Hits him in the arm, I believe.
You don't really find out in for a few more pages. Like you just see Indy say "ow" or "oomph," and he falls over the ledge.
Yeah.
And the Japanese soldiers come running. What happened? I wounded a saboteur. Well, wouldn't you want to make sure that saboteur was absolutely dead?
Yeah, well, they kind of go to check on him, and as they're heading up that way, we see how Indy's able to escape. We got a good whip reference here, but he kind of takes the whip out. I don't know how he accesses it as he's falling. It's another kind of like issue 18 where they're plotting things as they're falling to their death. Him and it's like, that's a little quick. But anyway, he pulls the whip out, latches onto a little ledge, a rock that comes out here. Get a little hat joke. The hat falls off, but it's still within reach. And then the marksman and his crew kind of come up. These Japanese soldiers come up. They see Indy's body down there, but they don't go to check on it to make sure that he's dead. They're like, hey, he's probably dead. Don't worry about it. The secret of the dragon remains safe, whatever.
Yeah.
They go back. The two generals are still going back and forth. Do you believe it? Do you not believe it? Oh, I think this is just a prehistoric creature. Well, even still... That's still pretty. I mean,
it's a pretty amazing discovery, no matter what it is.
Throwaway lines, I guess. Yeah.
Yeah. He's just sleeping, and it's just okay. All they keep thinking about is like, we can't wait to invade the United States. I will awake the sleeping spirit. I will.
Why is Indiana Jones here though?
Yeah.
He doesn't even do anything. He can't do anything. They take him out. They take the dragon out by Zeppelin.
He's too late.
And he's like, oh, my arm hurts. I got a flesh wound. So what was he going to do anyway? He can't take on the entire Japanese army.
Yeah, he had those two grenades with him, and then all of a sudden, and then there's that panel
that was
where
another
with him
strange line.
Walking away, and those two grenades are just sitting there too. Like, what was he going to do with those grenades? Like, nothing. Like,
and didn't he say like there was some throwaway line like made in Japan?
Yeah, the made in Japan grenades. Yeah,
he says, I hope these made in Japan grenades work better than the civilian junk they sell out. So the United States was buying grenades from Japan, or what?
The other thing too is that Indy's seen some pretty crazy stuff in his lifetime. Okay, I mean, there's a panel here where Indy says like the very existence defies all reason. I mean, come on, Indy's seen some pretty crazy stuff. After seeing all that stuff in his lifetime, he wouldn't think that a dragon would exist.
Well, I mean, go back to the time period too. I mean, we're talking about we don't have Temple of Doom yet. All we have is Raiders.
Yeah.
So, and it's Larry Lieber's writing it. He's writing from a 60s sensibility, too, of that sort of Spider-Man, like you mentioned, sensibility. So, put it in context, put it in the time period. But there are, admittedly, throwaway lines. I mean, everyone just saw a dragon being hauled off. So, yeah, there should be a little bit more excitement or concern or curiosity.
Or fear.
Something. Yeah, there's no emotion, there's no attachment to any of these characters. They're just thrown in. Anyway, the thing takes off, and he's like, "Oh, my arm hurts. I got a throbbing flesh wound." And then he's surrounded by Captain Caveman and his crew here, and You know, they're like, here, have some coffee. Here, have some caveman coffee, and we've got some spinach in our belts
too. Look at that one villager. It's really giving him a back
massage. He gets a mani-pedi back in issue 18. Now he's getting a caveman back rub here. I don't know what's going on. They tend to his wounds and they tell him.
Rub there.
This is so strange.
Whether your skin or strong, that's how we.
Give it credit for being one of the most bizarre Indiana Jones adventure ever. Yeah, we'll say it.
It is very bizarre.
How am I gonna figure this out? So these cavemen, these Captain Caveman and his crew give him this incantation, this parchment. Well, okay, that's supposed to, if you read it, it makes the dragon disappear and go back to where it's supposed to be. Why didn't the cavemen just read it when the Japanese were taking it?
Well, maybe they can't read.
It's right there.
They're cavemen, but look at it.
I can read it. It's there. It's in their language.
Lingo, but I think I could decipher it. These guys are cavemen.
Oh, so Indiana Jones can decipher, but they can't. It's theirs.
He's Indiana Jones. I mean, he can decipher anything.
It's theirs. They have it.
But maybe they just have it. You know, maybe it was given to them by somebody.
Yeah, whatever. You're being too nice. No, this is crazy. Okay, I'm going to take this parchment. And then several weeks later, where does this adventure take place? What about the Arnhem Ring?
It's a fake.
What about Marcus?
I'd rather spit in your face.
What has Indy been doing this whole time?
I don't know. Again, so he goes to Japan.
Apparently, he didn't get a green card when he went to Japan.
Man, we're just it's like the last issue where we like jump into the Himalayas. Like we just jump over days and whatever. Yeah, he goes and he's trying to go see Professor Kobayashi. Okay, what's going on here? What you sent me this little letter. I tried my best, and so he gets there, and this woman greets him at the door. And she attacks him with a knife. She comes at him, and it turns out it's Kobayashi's daughter. She wants to kill Indiana Jones because her dad committed harikari.
Yeah,
harikari. I tell you what,
if the moon was made,
Cubs win.
Would you eat it?
Would you eat? Cubs win. Cubs win.
Cubs win.
I guess we shouldn't be joking about the death of her father. Something to get me through this issue.
The guy committed ritual suicide.
He felt bad because he betrayed his government, but he helped Indy out, and she blames Indiana Jones.
That disgrace, yes,
I guess. The daughter doesn't even have a name. It's just like Professor Kobayashi's daughter.
She's never named. Yeah. You're right. She's never named.
No, that's how much of a throwaway these characters are. They don't even bother naming them, which to me is frustrating. In a book.
Yeah, it is a little frustrating. I mean, there could be a little bit more character development here, but again, it's a fill-in issue.
I know. But it could be a good fill-in issue. They hit the panic button on this one, and then even their dialogue between the two of them. She's like, "Well, he starts explaining things to her, and she's like, oh, I don't know, I'm so confused," and he's desperate. And well, would my father have helped you? Her father did help him. That's why he committed suicide. That line makes no sense there.
That's right. And I mean,
the artwork's not horrible. The artwor's not bad. I mean, it's okay.
The artwork is okay. There is a very 60s feel to it.
It is, and I kind of like that a little bit.
Yeah.
I like that old 60s Marvel look.
Me too.
But anyway, Professor Kobayashi's daughter, I don't know, no name, but she takes Indy to this temple where they apparently have this dragon. Indy's going to go sneak in.
To a secret military
Yeah, it
temple.
turns out sneaker.
And she knew where that was. I mean, hey, kudos to her.
I guess.
How did she know where that place was?
I mean, why wouldn't she do something about it, or what? Like, why is she trying to kill Indy if she knows that? Whatever. Again, none of this stuff makes sense.
Holding up.
And then out of nowhere, we get a sumo wrestler.
Good excuse to get a sumo wrestler in there, Gunichi. Indy starts climbing up this little tower. And he runs into it. Gunichi runs into it. Hey, guess again, Cuddles. Hey, that's a Spider-Man. I mean,
that's a Spider-Man.
That's Spider-Man. You know what it is? It's Spider-Man fighting the Rhino right now. That's what it is.
Yeah. We need Mitch for some of these sound effects here, though.
Thud. I can't even do it justice.
Thwip. We get a thwip. That's a Spider-Man sound effect.
You also get a chop.
But thwip is a Spider-Man, the web sound effect.
That's right.
Wham. There's a bok. We get a lot of shoosh. So, Indy takes the sumo wrestler out pretty easily. He hides from the soldiers. They come in. They separate him eventually from his satchel.
Yeah, his Mark 7 gas mask bag.
Yeah, which is where the incantation is. He can't get to that right away. But then he stumbles upon where Godzilla, whoever, The dragon by the tail, yeah. They find out what he's kept in like a big mason jar. Seriously?
It's a dragon. It's
dragon under glass. I'll have the dragon under glass, please.
You have ship in a bottle. We have a dragon in a bottle.
Whatever. They're keeping him gassed so that he's sleepy. Really? And the one general still doesn't believe. You get a dragon under glass, and whatever. He's like, I don't know. I doubt he's alive. Well, that's the thing. They're going to keep him asleep until they can drag him over California, unload him on the States, and then invade on the coast. But Indy's like, I'm gonna sabotage this whole plan.
Yeah, he tries to get over to those exhaust valves before the rest of the troops can figure out what's going on. He knocks out a couple of the troops.
I love how Indy knows how all this stuff works too. By the way.
Yeah. I mean, that's it. It's totally ridiculous. I mean, Indy he's also making a huge racket here. Look, he uses his whip on this like little platform and pulls it, and one of the guys screams, "Ah!" He falls off. He falls off the platform. Wouldn't that make?
Why is there a platform there? What?
You know what I mean? What's that platform there in the first place? And then the dragon. The dragon starts waking up, and he finds this like valve and starts like releasing all the sleeping toxin gas, whatever it is in there.
Yeah, good plan, Indy. Why don't you wake the dragon up? Because how are you going to stop it?
Yeah.
Why would you wake it up? Leave it.
I think he wants to wake it up so it'll just like start destroying whatever. Yeah.
Then what?
But then what? Exactly. Like, it's not a very well thought out plan.
How are you going to contain the dragon then, Indy?
It's just not a good plan. But then
Godzilla wakes up.
Oh, the rumors! It's all true. Of course it's true.
You have a dragon there. You put him to sleep. Why would you be going to all this trouble if it wasn't true?
I thought the dragon was a carving, but
really?
wrought by primitives. Really? No. So when it melted out of the ice, so you still thought it was a carving? I don't get that. It's just it's
we're
very
ripping on it too much. Good artwork.
Yeah, it's great. The artwork is great.
Let's give some credit to Larry Lieber on this one.
Yeah, the artwork is great. It's just not written very well. It's not thought out. It could have been a great story. It could have been a way fun story.
Yeah, it could have been.
But it's just the more you read, the more you're just like, oh, guys, really? You couldn't just take your time a little bit more on this?
No, it just doesn't make sense. Visually, it looks pretty cool. You got a giant dragon. He's breathing fire. They're trying to shoot it. It's not going to work. And now all of a sudden, Indy realizes, I woke the dragon up. It's going to kill all the innocent civilians. Whoops.
Yeah, and I mean, and the Japanese are like, you know what? The dragon's gonna destroy us, so we have to kill it now. It's kind of a shame. I mean, obviously the dragon is the main quote unquote villain of this book, but the two Japanese soldiers, they could have been pretty good villains, I thought.
Yeah,
and
but
they didn't.
That's
get
what I said at the beginning.
Time.
That's what I mentioned at the beginning. The characters, there's no character development. Some of them don't even have names. Some of them are just a name is tossed out and we're moving on. I have no connection to any of these characters.
Right.
It's not like Ben Ali Ayoub or Ian McIver. It's not like I've got any kind of backstory or some personality involved in these characters.
Right.
They're just these random stereotypes that are just thrown out there. I like the fact that the Japanese are brought in instead of the Nazis, because then you've got something different in the world of Indiana Jones. But it's just there's no development on any of these things. It's just plot devices to get to the shots of the dragon, which, yeah, that's fine. The artwork's great. The flames look pretty cool. Indy starts whipping the thing to get its attention to him.
It starts chasing
because he knows he has this incantation. The whole thing.
Yeah, but he lost it though. He lost it in he
knows where it is
earlier. He knows where it is, but he needs to get to it. Yeah. But unfortunately, the way is blocked. So Indy's kind of trapped, and this dragon is now chasing him. So the dragon comes up from behind. Indy turns around and he's like, "I got to time this just right." I made him pretty PO'd, and the dragon just then unleashes its fury, unleashes its fire, and this thing just kind of shoots a stream of flame. Indy jumps at the last second, and this flame just kind of clears out. It burns a path right through these beams that have been blocking his way, and right behind the beams is that parchment, is his gas mask bag.
It's salvaged, so he grabs it. He takes off. There's this one shot, if you're looking, again, we're talking about the artwork, where Indy kind of like jumps through the flames, picks up the bag, and jumps through the flames.
Love it.
That's a pretty great looking Indiana Jones action set piece. I like that one. That looks really good. So yeah, that's one of the pluses. And then I saw a review of this issue online, and somebody had written a review of this issue. They mentioned he looked like Slim Pickens in Doctor Strangelove. He just jumps on this thing. Yeehaw! He just go ride this dragon. And he does not by the tail, so I don't know.
Yeah, he actually whips one of the dragon's horns. It seems.
I guess he rides him by the head or the neck or the whatever. So it's not really dragon by the tail. That's a little off. But anyway, and now we've got a full blown Godzilla story.
It turns into a Godzilla movie at this point. And it's funny. You got Indy riding the dragon at this point, and they're like, "Well, who's that guy on the dragon? It's his fault.
Yeah,
it's that guy that's riding the dragon.
He's got the whip hooked around the horn. He's got it whipped around him." He's got, now he's like, he's going to read this incantation in his Indiana accent.
Yeah. Now, this could go two ways, okay? Obviously, they didn't know much about Indiana Jones's history at this point.
Only had Raiders.
Right. So they probably said, well, maybe he's called Indiana Jones because he's from Indiana, right? Makes sense, doesn't it? But it could mean that he's saying it in his own personal accent, in his Indiana Jones accent.
Are you doing a little retro fitting?
I'm doing a little retconning. I'm going to go right now. I'm going to say because you know what they were thinking when they were writing this. They said he's called Indiana Jones because he's from Indiana. I'm saying
you're helping
here goes
Larry
Indiana accent and all. It's Indiana's accent. Indiana's accent. His accent
Indy's
reading
accent.
this incantation. Right. It's not going to be in the accent of the people that wrote this incantation, so it's going to be in Indiana's accent.
Whatever.
Hey, retconning, baby.
That's
what we do here. That's what we do
so
here
hard.
when we try to turn something bad into something good.
I know. Larry didn't know he was named after the dog. So all right.
Well, I'm retconning that.
You retconned it. Yeah. There's some children's party, a school.
A group of school
children. There's some party.
Right in the Dragon's Path of Destruction.
Oh, no.
In Godzilla's Path of Destruction.
Yasu sees it. Nobody believes.
He's such a fraidy cat.
Nobody ever believes Yasu. Nobody ever believes me.
He's the boy that cried dragon. I mean, come on.
I guess he is. He's the boy that cried Fin Fang Foom.
Good thing he wasn't the boy that cried Godzilla.
Godzilla. Indy recites the incantation. It disappears. The dragon disappears. Well, it's a good thing Indy happens to be over this large body of water, or else he would have plummeted to his doom.
Timed it just right. I mean,
guess.
Way to go, Indy. Timed it just right. So, the dragon disappears in this fireworky kind of display. Yeah. I guess so. They thought it was you see those fireworks that turn into dragons or whatever. So that's what they probably thought it was.
So strange, listeners. If you don't have the comic book in front of you, just all we can say is just go get it. Because you won't believe it until you see it.
You'll get a good laugh out of it, and if you listen and read along with us as we're doing this segment, I mean you'll get much.
You'll
more
never listen to the IndyCast again. So sorry, Ed.
Exactly.
We're so sorry.
That. Yeah, but we had to do this. We knew this day was coming.
We did. We put it off as long as we could. But anyway, the dragon goes back. He's back in the ice. We have no idea why these Captain Caveman and his followers didn't just read the incantation in the first place. You think they couldn't pronounce it. I don't happen to agree with you. I think you're being kind.
They didn't have an Indiana accent. That's why, Joe. Come on.
Yeah. Indiana's accent, Keith?
Well, now it's Indiana's accent.
Yeah, I think Larry Lieber owes you something for protecting this story for him. But anyway, Indy drags himself out of this body of water. He heads back to Ms. Kobayashi, whatever. And now she's fine.
He has to hightail it back to Kobayashi.
You've saved us all. He's sayonara.
He needs help going back to going stateside because he's here illegally. Don't forget. So she helps him.
The story's here illegally.
Exactly. She helps him to jump on a boat to get out of here, to get out of Japan. You get an interesting line of dialogue here from Kobayashi's daughter. She says, "I fear there will be terrible days ahead for your people and mine before we can ever meet again. Sayonara, Joan-san." And she's right. War seems inevitable. Indy thinks that. But without the dragon, it won't arrive as soon. So, Indy put the kibosh on the dragon, but they know something's still coming down the line. The sukiyaki's coming, and I mean, but the thing is, we don't ever see those Japanese soldiers again. They could have been great villains. It was a waste. It was a waste of a lot of characters.
And thankfully, we'll never see issue 19 again.
Yeah, that's it. The end.
The end. Let's get back out of this fill-in issue. Let's get back to the Cuban connection. Sorry, folks. We had to go through that issue.
We had to go through that one.
Keith,
we had to do
did you like that issue or not?
All right. I'm going to be honest here, okay? Like I said, I wanted to have fun again reading this one because I said, you know what? I know this is a silly issue. There's a lot of silly dialogues. It's got a dragon in it. It's silly. But you know what? I really wanted to enjoy it again, but I just couldn't get over certain things. I just couldn't get over it. I love the artwork. I love the 60s style of artwork. I don't mind that Indy would come across a dragon. I just don't like how they did it in this particular issue.
Okay. Next, Cuban connection.
No. Come on, Joe. Come on. You can't do that. You have to at least sum it up a bit. Come on. Sum up how you really feel about this issue. Come on. Everybody wants to hear it. I want to hear it.
You ready?
I'm ready.
Let's check out the emails.
Mister, get your arm out of that mailbox. I mean now.
Oh, dear me. I haven't had so much trouble delivering a package since the incident in Vienna.
Friend of the show, Rocky Ponte writing in. Hey, guys, happy anniversary. Wow, 2 years already. Really, how time flies.
Yes, it
does. I'm glad it's been 2 years and you are only halfway through the series, but I'm also a little sad because you are halfway through the series in only 2 years. It felt like 2 years on this particular issue, Rocky. I got to say that. So I think we added to the time there. He continues, you have touched on the subject before, but please keep the Dark Horse comics in mind when the show comes closer to the finale. And definitely keep the interviews coming. Thanks to you, I've learned so much about life and the history of the comic book industry from the people who made the industry what it is today. So keep up the fantastic job. Thanks for writing in, Rocky. Yeah, we've learned a lot, too. That's what I love about doing this segment is that we really got some great background on these issues. Even this one. We talked to the person who, who edited the book.
And who did the cover.
Yep.
Bret Blevins. We're with you about the Dark Horse comics as well, too, Rocky. And you know what? Once we're finished with this series, like we said, we're probably going to put out a poll, what to see what you guys actually want us to do. If you want us to continue on with the Dark Horse books, if you want us to see us continue on with any other aspect of Indiana Jones, let us know what you guys want, and we'll be more than happy to tackle that subject.
Okay, that's it for the day then.
Well, there you hear it from Indiana Jones himself. He's apparently back at Marshall College, and class is dismissed. He had a wild ride from a dragon, and just glad that one's over, Keith.
Yeah, I'm glad that one's over, too. We're going to move on to Cuban Connection coming up next, a 3-parter, which is very exciting. So, yeah, dragging by the tail. It is what it is.
Let us know what you think, too, listeners. Hey, write us. Where can they write us, Keith?
furtheradventures@gmail.com. And don't forget, we are on Facebook, folks. We have lots of cool stuff. Check out that new cover by Dan Reed on our Facebook page. Lots more coming up.
Thanks, Dan.
3-parter. Yeah, thanks a lot, Dan. He's a good friend of our show. Well, hopefully I'm going to be coming back to the States again soon, so maybe I'll be meeting up with Dan Reed again, but let's see what happens. We got a 3-parter coming up next, the Cuban Connection.
Write in, tell us what you think. Rip on Dragon by the Tail. It's fun. We like doing it.
Be it Dragon by the Tail or be it any other Indiana Jones stories, always fun to discuss them with you and to have the further fans read along with us as we discuss these issues.
Absolutely. Cuban Connection, a 3-parter. It starts next episode on The Further Adventures of Indiana Jones.